Hello, and welcome back to Performance Agile. I'm Vince,
And I'm Eric.
and today we're going to cover the barriers to Agile transformation and the benefits of an Agile transformation. So, Vince Lombardi is quoted as saying that the difference between a successful person and others is not a lack of strength, not a lack of knowledge, but rather a lack of will. We would accomplish many more things if we did not think them as impossible.
It's very true.
Yeah, so that's Vince Lombardi. That's, again, someone who has some history of having a little bit of success, right?
That's right.
So why did we call this out for today's topic? Well, we're talking about barriers to organizations adopting Agile. We are also going to talk about the benefits, but first, let's talk about some of those barriers. Now, these are pretty common. These are not just our opinions. These are the opinions of others out in the industry who have expressed these opinions. So let's hear what some of those are. What do you think some of those are?
Yeah, so some of these barriers, and I'm sure you've heard of them, and if we don't cover your particular barrier, please feel free to leave it in the comments section below. But some of the more common ones is, either the executives are all in, but the people on the ground floor, the people doing the day-to-day work aren't, or it's the other way around. Everybody on the ground floor is all in, but the executives aren't.
So yeah, you're right. The executives at the top might be in and the workers might not, or the other way around. But there's also one that I've come across where the executives are in and the people doing the work at the team level are in, but the managers in the middle are not.
Yeah, so all organizational hierarchical pieces and layers have to be bought in for this to work. Otherwise, you're going to run into some significant barriers. Legacy infrastructure and legacy business models getting mired down in the past of, this is how we've always done it. That fixed mindset we talked about in our last video. That definitely presents a lot of challenges and a lot of barriers to an Agile transformation.
Yep.
And for me, I think the last one that I'll mention is the biggest barrier is a misunderstanding of how long these Agile transformations are going to take. I think a lot of executives or a lot of financiers who control the purse strings feel as though that an Agile transformation is going to be done in 3 to 6 months. I would argue that if you're a large organization, you have 20,000 or 30,000 employees or more, multiple different silos, stovepipes, towers, you name it, vertical structures where the business is segmented, you're looking at minimum year because you're changing so many things in a short amount of time where even a year is pretty generous.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's stress once again, minimum is at least a year. We've said it before and we're going to say it again and again and again. Once the decision is made to go Agile, to transform to Agile, it is a journey and it's going to take a while to do. It's not easy.
It's not easy.
One of the barriers to a successful transformation is, first of all, people are resistant to change. It's just human nature. Where you would think it would be more human nature to evolve because we all have, it's a proven fact, but yet we are resistant to change.
Once we got those creature comforts of the devils we know, rather than the demons we don't.
Yeah.
So you want to stay with, you'd rather stay with that process. You'd rather stay with that old school way of working, rather than make that change because that unknown is scary and potentially life changing.
Right. Life changing I went to school, I got my degree, I have my job, I've been in my job for a while, this is my identity. And now you're asking me to change what I do, how I do it.
Potentially who I am.
My identity.
Yeah.
And that's scary for a lot of people. When the reality is you should look at it that this is all going to make you and everyone around you better. This is not change for the worst. for anyone. I have yet to find in any clear example where this has really been a bad transition for anyone. I don't see how anyone could lose in this. Now, I'm sure there's going to be people out there who are going to challenge that. We
Love to hear it.
we would love to hear
it.
that.
Yeah.
But honestly, when I think when the debate is on, I think that the argument is going to end up in favor of, did you really lose out on that deal? So we'll see. One of the other things that goes along with that is, it's not just the individuals that are involved. So it's the corporation, it's the company identity too. With regard to if the company's been around a while, especially if it's big, and it's got a lot of people who have, in the human resources side of things, structured the organization for growth, if you will, and we're trying to make room and positions for people in the organization to grow into and manage other people. Mm-hmm. When we come along with these agile, processes, and we're actually trying to lean the process out of eliminating people who aren't truly providing value, and that qualifies for its own discussion right there. Is what people are providing value in this process. That tends to make other people nervous too. Like, but I'm a manager, or I'm a director, or I'm this, or I'm that. I'm the engineering lead. What do you mean I don't have a say into how this is done? Mm-hmm. Well, in some cases you don't. But that doesn't mean you don't have a job, and it doesn't mean you still don't have valuable responsibilities. It just means that, if we're taking an idea and we're trying to put it into production, we only want really the people who need to be involved, not everybody who might be involved in your current structure. Many different barriers to overcome. So change is a huge barrier to these transformations. Right. Is there another one that you want to call out?
Yeah, and on the point of change, you could think of an agile transformation as like change management or expectations management, because you're changing some organizations' particular mindset, their culture, that legacy, right? That the way of they did things once, maybe it worked then at that point in time, but it no longer is a viable option to continue to stay relevant in the business marketplace. So we have to, make that change. We have to tell them, like, here are the expectations, and then we have to do training. We have to get them educated, because if we just come in and we say, hey, you're going to do this, we're just going to shove this down your throat, here's this agile transformation, but we don't explain to them the benefits of agile, people are going to just dig their heels in, and they're going to say, well, we're not going to change just because we told you so. And I think another good one is whenever a new leader comes into the space and they try to do an agile transformation, but it fails, the employees get this mindset of, well, we've survived an agile transformation before, we're going to outlive this one as well. So they don't have the motivation to go in and be 100% involved in the agile transformation. They're like, oh, this is a flash in the pan, it's going to fade away.
Yeah.
We're going to survive this. And they kind of just hide in the shadows until that leader either goes to a different organization or leaves the company.
Yeah. Continuous improvement and process improvement, it's only been going on for at least, since the 40s, right? So it's just a flash in the pan.
Just a flash.
Yeah. Evolving, how efficient you are, and improving the culture of respect, of the people around you, and, respecting everyone's ideas, and empowering people at every possible level, and just making everyone want to get up in the morning and go into work. Yeah, it's just a flash in the pan, right? So when we're talking about overcoming these barriers to get to that nirvana of the perfect workplace, right, is what we all want to be in. A lot of the focus is on the organization. So it's really not on how difficult it is to be agile per se, or to do some of the agile activities. A lot of the barriers are organizational. and it's also psychological, it's emotional. So those are the things that really are at the forefront of the barriers of change. Now let's run down some statistics that were collected by experts in the field. These experts were the Project Management Institute. Does a study, and they call it the Pulse of the Professional, and they partner with. I think they've partnered once with the Agile Alliance, but they also partner with Version 1, which is a tool that's used in Agile. It's pretty prominent. So they've done studied and collected some metrics, if you will. Why don't you share what some of those are?
Yeah, from 2011 to 2018 are the stats that we have from this study, which is the annual state of Agile, and consistently every time they run this report, the number one reason why either agile transformations don't occur, fail, or there's barriers, it is organizational culture. It's exactly what you said. It's 50% or higher. In 2018 we have it at 53% as the top cited reason as the primary barrier to an agile transformation.
Yeah. So I mean, these were global studies. I mean, these weren't just a sample survey of the market. This was a global study. So I mean, these numbers are pretty relevant. What was another one?
So according to version 1 in 2018, general organizational resistance to change, which speaks to, like what you said, it's the organization again. And I think that also lends credence to the point that I made about the different verticals, the stovepipes, the towers of, if your finance is one tower and IT is a different tower, which may include your software developers, just is going to depend on your organization, or where your operations is maybe even a different tower. We're trying to get all of your single towers aligned into an agile transformation, and like the way that these projects get funded or these products, these value streams get funded is completely different, rather than saying, well, we're gonna create a business case. We have to define all of our requirements, and then here's the couple $1 million that is allocated up front to all of the known requirements at the time. Go iterate on the requirements we've defined, rather than, hey, new requirements have come in, we need to adapt to this. And instead of having to go through 6 months of a front door process to adapt to the new requirements, it just happens at the team level that day, the same day. Right? It's completely different.
Yeah, so I mean, that's a very good point. There's just a lot to consider, isn't there?
There's more barriers that we can mention that would stretch this into a 3, 4, 5 hour long video.
Yeah, and why is that? This involves people, right? And like we just mentioned, you would think that it would be easy for us to embrace evolving and improving ourselves, right? We have to go out and buy books and listen to meditations just because we want to try to improve, right? We've got to find ways to improve, and it's very difficult for us to figure it out for ourselves, right? In some cases. So there's people like us, there are coaches that are here to help in these kind of situations. But when you really, boil it down to why it's difficult to improve, it really just, we have to help people understand it's okay. You know what I mean? And it's okay to be nervous, and it's okay to be reluctant, but the world is not going to stop spinning if you kind of let go of what you're comfortable with and what and try something new. It's going to be okay.
That's right.
And so that's how we get over those barriers. And that's not easy to do either. And it takes a little time, takes a little patience, and a little understanding. So, but it happens. It can happen to with everyone.
Right. So, like you said, these barriers they have to be overcome.
Mm-hmm.
You have to stay relevant. You have to adapt. You have to keep moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
Though the businesses that have failed to adapt and those that have stood still, I mean, we've seen it time and again, they fail in
Mm-hmm.
lieu of a more superior product that people are willing to go out and pay for. So, and that's just one benefit. What are some of
Yeah.
the others?
Well, internally, there's the visibility aspect, right? So one of the barriers is the expectations. I think you mentioned this, right? Was, well, if we go agile, we're going to do things faster. We're going to get a product developed and in production much faster. Well, that's not necessarily true. That's kind of a myth. It's misunderstood. But what we can offer is the visibility into what it is that we're doing,
Right.
making it more transparent. And that's where we have that ability to course correct more often, more sooner in the process than later. So that's just one of the benefits of the agile process, if you will. Now it's in the aspect of doing and not being, is the visibility aspect of it. What's another one?
And so, like you said, having the ability to adapt, and when we have that transparency and that visibility into, say, the backlog's worth of work, and we say products or product backlog items X, Y, and Z are currently right now the highest prioritized in our backlog, but because we have that transparency and the ability to adapt, when the customers say, well, we really want A, B, and C, we can do that. We don't have to wait for the rest of the product to be developed a year later for it to be live in production,
Right.
for that feedback to come and say, well, we didn't want what you built. We really wanted something else. Well, maybe we only waited a month. Even then, still might be a long time to wait to get that crucial feedback. You'd really want it within hours or days, but there's a lot of companies that it takes time to get that feedback cycle going, but that's something that you got to fight for.
Right.
But you don't have that feedback cycle, you can't adapt. Agile, you can.
You can. And what that does is that moves us into providing value. So as we talk about these benefits, and we talked about transparency and that feedback loop and being adaptable to change, it allows us to provide business value, not only really what's of value to the customer, but sooner than later. Whereas in the old traditional models, we would provide all of the requirements and the specifications up front. We would build to that, and then we would find out later that we weren't successful. We didn't really deliver a whole lot of value, if we did at all, right?
Right.
So what does that then lead into next?
Yeah. So whenever you're delivering business value at a more frequent pace, it reduces the amount of risk you have in your product line.
Mm-hmm.
Really, because what you're doing is you're taking the overall product and you're breaking it into small bite-sized pieces over time, and you're coming out to your customer. You're saying, is this of value to you? Yes or no? And if you say yes, your risk goes down. If they say no, well, now you know right now that that's not what they're looking for. So we know right now, today, that that's not what your customer wants, rather than, like you said, waiting a year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah.
So maybe it's only taken months for us to figure out we're on the wrong track. 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. Mm-hmm. Hey, we're not going in the right direction. We need to course correct.
Right. Reduce
the risk significantly, rather than saying, oh, it's been a year and a half, 2 years. What do you mean this isn't what you wanted?
Right. And there's a study that has been done, and this applies to the government model. And the government follows the traditional project management, old waterfall style. Now they have other restrictions and policy and governance in place, which kind of drags things out a little bit more. But from the time that work is actually started, and it could take a year or more just to get up to the point where a government agency will put work out in a vendor's hands. But by the time that work starts, following that government process, now this is a project managed type of a model. It could be 4 to 6 years before it even gets into the hands of a user. So can you imagine still doing that today? How if corporations had to exist under that model today, Wow. I mean, it kind of blows my mind a little bit, right? When if you've been involved in, these agile processes, and you do work iteratively to try to wrap your mind around, it's going to take years before you actually get something into the hands of a user. It's like crazy.
I mean, I could tell you anecdotally, when I was a Scrum Master, if it took my teams more than 2 or 3 iterations to get a piece of working software out the door, I would have lost my job. We're not talking 4 to 6 years. We're talking like a month
Yeah.
to get working software out the door. Like they would have said, "What are you and your team doing? You're not productive enough. Goodbye. Golden handshake. We'll find somebody else."
Well, I don't know if that's a healthy culture, but it is it is
It's corporate America.
very different contrast in the different models, right? So, but yeah, I mean, it's real. It happens. But those are the kinds of things that need to be addressed for a better, safer working environment. So, what do you say we talk about let's get back to some hard statistics on the benefits to Agile. Why don't you cover the first couple of benefits that have been collected over the years?
Sure. So this is from the 13th annual State of Agile, again from version 1, where they got like the global companies together and say, what are the benefits that you're reaping from Agile? And we've already talked a little bit about accelerated product delivery in small bite-sized pieces over time. They can change and manage priorities. They can increase product visibility. They can, adapt priorities to change the customer as needed.
Mm-hmm.
One of the more intangible ones that we have yet to talk about, that's big for me because I work with people as a coach and as a Scrum Master, is morale.
Mm-hmm.
Morale is huge in software development because, project management, product management is people management. Like you said, this is all about people. The agile transformation is changing people, changing in the ways in which they work. And if you don't believe that morale has an impact on people's ability to do productive work and deliver good quality software, well, you're dead wrong. You need people who want to come into work every day. Like you said, they want to get up, they want to come in, they want to enjoy themselves, they want to be productive. And, that morale, well, it could be harder to quantify as an intangible benefit, is crucial to the success of anything that you do here.
So if we say that if you go into work and you're managed and people are looking over your shoulder, what are you doing? How are you doing it? No, let me tell you how you should be doing it. And you're constantly having to give status reports on what you're doing and how you're doing and how much is getting done. And if the entire organization is built on that kind of a model, and everybody is just is just really uptight about their performance, and their performance is based on your performance, so they're going to tell you how to perform. Who wants to work in an environment like that, right?
Mm-mm.
So we all, at every level, at every age, in every role, that you could possibly hold, we want to feel like we are contributing something of value, right? We want to feel appreciated. We want to enjoy what we do. Given the two choices, which one do you want? I mean, really.
And there's a really good video out there about what motivates people, and
Mhm.
it's mastery autonomy. And we want to give people that too. We want to give people the ability to master their skill, which in this
Mhm.
case could be software development, but we also want to have people that are so skilled and so trustworthy that we are hands off of them. They're autonomous. They know what they need to do.
Mhm.
They come in every day. They say, hey, here's the vision, the strategy for the product line. Here's the value that I'm delivering. I'm going to go execute.
Mhm.
And I can't think of too many examples offhand where that's reality for a lot of folks. But if you look at over time, Linux was a group of people getting together in their spare time, developing an operating system because they wanted mastery and autonomy, and look where it's at now today.
Yeah. I quote Steve Jobs a lot, maybe a little bit too much. But I believe he was quoted as saying that, we hire the best and the brightest people, not so that we have to tell you how to do your job, so that you can tell us what we should be doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when you get hired or when you're interviewing somebody, do you actually interview someone, or do you expect when you're in an interview that once you get hired that you're going to be told how to do your job when you just sold yourself to the people that were doing the hiring? Or if you're doing the hiring, that you're looking for the best and the brightest people that are available because you need them to be so skilled and add to your team so that we can be successful. Why would you want to turn around and put your thumb on them and tell them how to do their job? It lacks logic for me.
It does. It boggles the mind. But
Yeah.
there's also a disconnect there of the HR hiring person is not the dev manager who they're going to be working for, which I think in some instances,
in some cases it is though too. I've been there.
I've been in both.
Yeah.
I know, but that caused some problems as well. But the last benefit that I personally want to talk about,
Sure.
It goes hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
It is software quality and then software maintainability.
Okay.
So as we've talked about, we're releasing this product every 2 weeks. We're saying, iteration to iteration or whatever that's on a Scrum basis is a 2-week iteration. You're breaking out software and you're releasing it over time. Well, that gives you that feedback loop, not only to say, is this what the customer wanted, but it tells you, is your software of quality? Is it performing correctly? Are your pages loading as fast as you wish they would? Is your database handling the load? Is your APIs holding up? But then also maintainability. Do you have any bugs? Do you have any defects? You get to find those out much sooner and you get to fix those sooner rather than saying, hey, we're going to do this big bang release a year, 2 years down the road, and we have hundreds of bugs and those should have been fixed months ago, but we don't either have the time, the resource, or the budget anymore to go back and fix all of these bugs. So whenever you deliver things incrementally and you're getting that feedback loop, your customers will tell you, hey, this doesn't do what we expect it to do. Please fix it. And it makes it a more superior product.
Yeah. So we've talked a lot about the emotional aspects of the change, right? Good and bad. We've talked about the psychological aspect of the change, good and bad. We've talked about the organizational culture and structure, changes that are barriers, right, that need to change. But yeah, when you get down to the brass tacks of the activities, right, the processes and the methods that we employ under Agile to achieve the ultimate goal of providing value, is exactly right. That product now, everything and the people involved, we want to hone into a fine-tuned machine and get the best, highest value product into the hands of a user as soon as possible.
Right.
Right.
So, we've talked about a lot of barriers. We've talked about a lot of benefits. So if you had to sum it all up, give it a nice ending, what would the takeaway for the viewer be?
Well, just know that it's a big decision to decide to go Agile, and it takes buy-in from everyone involved in the company, from the executives, from the CEO down to everyone involved. And it's not just a development team or developers. It's everybody involved in the creation of the idea to getting it into production and in the hands of a user. It's everyone. It's everything. It's a change in culture. There's a lot, and it's not easy. Just know that it's not easy, and it's gonna be a little clunky at times, and it's gonna be difficult at times. And it is going to take a little while and a little patience, but it happens. It has happened. You can do it. So that would be my walk away with this. You?
Yeah. So like you said, I got to give it to the people though. I have to bring in more of the people aspect. Is like you said, it's going to take time, but you also have to give your people time. You have to allow them to try new things. You have to allow them to fail. You have to allow them to try it again, and you have to allow them to fail again, right? Nothing ever really gets done correctly on the first pass. So you have to allow people to mature into the process. You have to allow the process to mature. You have to allow people's education, their exposure, their experience to mature, especially if this is a brand new concept to a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people. You have to allow that growth to occur, right? You have to take that fixed mindset, you have to break it or unfreeze it, make that change into the growth mindset, refreeze, and then solidify and then continue to build into that growth mindset of we don't want to just do the agile things. We want to be agile
Right.
and understand it at its core concepts, the values and the
And
principles.
it's really going to take a lot of leadership to allow a lot of the things that you just said that encourages that growth, that allows a safe environment and a culture for experimentation and some failure because that's how we learn. Trying new things, learning new skills. It all boils down to having the right leaders um, in your organization to support the things that are going. And when the going gets tough, you need the right leaders to be there to help you through it.
And that's it for today, folks. Thanks for joining us. We hope you enjoyed the video. We look forward to hearing your comments in the section below. Don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on notifications, and we'll catch you in the next video.